welcome to Crafting Revolution, the podcast. My name is Katie Freeman, and I'm one of your hosts. Every Wednesday and Friday, we bring you interviews of female and non-binary makers of all kinds from all over the world. Today's guest is Tania of Tania Made. Tania is a woodworker, wood carver, messes around with a little bit of resin. I think she is, Turner, I think she's just extremely happy to get to work with tools and make things, and brings her joy, and she enjoys making things for other people as well. Before we hop into the interview with Tania, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to the patrons over on Patreon. So thanks so much, Lee at Lee Runyon, Annette, 513 Woodworks, Katie Thompson, Women of Woodworking, Kevin, Lefty's Woodshop, Christy, Twisted Twine, Jeremy Speece, Sammy, Go Sammy Lee, Rachel, Moody Makes, Bonnie, toolmomstore.com, Laura, Oakley Soap Company, Brandy, Studio Obey, Lee, the Rainbow Carver, Ellen, Little Bear Furniture, and Ethan Carter Designs. Thank you all so very much for your continued ongoing support, helping to produce 2 episodes a week every week. Now let's head on in to the interview with Tania. Well, I like to start by asking my guests to introduce themselves. So will you do that for me?
Well, my name is Tania, spelled with an I, not a Y. It's a very hard thing to grasp sometimes to people, but, I'm a lesbian, I'm disabled, and I woodwork and do crafts and a little bit of everything, I guess.
Okay, awesome.
And a single dog mom.
A single dog mom.
Yeah.
Love
I'm an only mom. Yeah.
All right, well, let's take a step back, and I want to know your kind of the big story of Tania, like baby Tania to how did you get into what you're doing now? So yeah, where'd you grow up?
We're going back, huh?
Stuff. Yeah.
So about 32 years ago, getting close because my birthday's in December.
Okay.
So I was born in Tijuana, in TJ, and we lived in TJ till I was about 7. My mom and my dad, my mom has a grocery store, I guess you'd call it, kind of like a store for everything in TJ, and she has it the way it's my grandma's house, my nana's house, and like in the front yard is a store. So the store basically provides for whatever my nana needs, so like her medication now, and like the bills for the house and all that. And she runs it with my other 2 uncles and my nana. Now she's not as hands-on into the store as she used to be, you know, old age and things happen. But yeah, and my mom crosses every day. So we turned 7. I went to school in TJ till I was in 2nd grade, finished 2nd grade. And then we moved here to a house because my mom said, if you're moving me from my country to another country, I'd rather be poor in my country than someone else's. So she said, if you're taking me somewhere else, you buy me a house. She's like, renting here, renting over there, I might as well rent where I know. So we moved into a house. My dad he was the co-founder of a lowrider club. So he sold his pride and joy and put the down payment on a house. So we've been living here since I was 7. We've remodeled the house and whatnot, you know, but yeah, we moved here. And when I moved here, I skipped 3rd grade because apparently TJ's advanced for a year. Somehow it's a whole debacle. I'm also a December baby, so it's like hard to place me, right? So I jumped to 4th grade here. Luckily, I knew some English because me and my brother, we had cousins that were living here. So we would come over here all the time. And so we kind of learned some English from them. And we also learned English for like watching cartoons, right? So like The Simpsons, all the horrible cartoons, right? Hence why now I know why I probably have like the worst sailor mouth, right? uh Makes a whole lot of sense. But but yeah, and like we picked it up pretty fast. So I went into fourth grade and they put me in like a bilingual class. Walked in, like I've always been the person that shows up early. So I guess I was at that age because I showed up and I just went straight into the classroom. No kids. The teacher was like setting up her stuff and was like, "Whoa, there's a child in my room." And I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing, lady." And then like she asked me a couple questions. I started answering her in English, and then she was like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "I just moved here, dude. I don't know where I'm at." Like, but I guess I don't know. So I did school. So I started in fourth grade, and then high school. When I graduated high school, I've always wanted to work with animals. So um, I've I'm not a good test taker. Like I've spelled my name wrong several times on a test, and I'm glad they didn't mark me down for that. But it's my anxiety is like horrible when it comes to that. So I was like, college is not my thing. So my guidance counselor was like, well, there's these things called vocational schools, and there's like a veterinary assistant one. And she's like, you can work your way up. And I was like, well, sounds good to me. So I did that. So I did 2 veterinary assistant courses. And the way this one worked was, so it was like a year for the full course, and you only paid for your books and your scrubs or whatever you needed. Everything else, like the course and everything else, was free. So it was like pretty kick ass. And so the first 6 months was in school training, and then the second 6 months was like a internship and like a class a week instead of 3 classes a week. And I did 2 of those, and I learned very quickly that in a vet hospital, 6 months in, you know how to do everything unless you're the vet. So luckily, my ex-wife at the time, well, my wife at the time, her brother worked in research.
Mhm.
So then he was like, well, you work with animals, so why don't you jump into this? And then I started working in labs, doing research, first washing cages, and then kind of worked my way up. And I've been doing that since 2007. I'm still have a full-time job working in labs. Um, so I've worked with all kinds of animals, from mice, rats, guinea pigs, rabbits, goats, sheep, pigs, dogs, cats. I think it runs the gamut there. But I've learned a lot. I mean, I did a lot of like cancer research, a lot of ocular research was really cool to like help out, like testing, like, what are those, testing like oh my God, words, find them. Contacts. There you go. Testing like contacts on rabbits and stuff like that. A lot of people get worked up about, but I mean, if the building were on fire, I need to take those animals out before I leave. So it's like there's very, very strict rules, and we make sure that the animals are very, very well taken care of. Like they're enriched and they have toys, they have all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're treated better than we are. Believe me. But yeah, so I've been doing that, and then I left my wife. It was a very she was abusive, both physically and verbally. So I was for about 3.5 years. Started verbal, and then 6 months later turned physical, and it got pretty bad. A friend of mine, I met this girl at a job, and she was like, "You're not going home." A week after knowing me, I thank God for her every day. Probably why I'm still here, but and so I left my wife, uh, and then apparently when you have traumatic things that happen to you, you might develop fibromyalgia. So another awesome thing that happens, after horrible experiences. So that they think that's something that happens to you. The reason why I got it, probably, I don't really know, but I developed fibromyalgia, and so I got really, really sick. It went downhill fast, and like I lost a lot of my muscle mass. And like I was in ROTC in high school, so I was like built, right? And all my muscle mass is going down. One day I realized, like I was sitting in my bed. So I would go to work and then come home and sit in my bed and watch videos or movies or whatever. And one day I was like, I'm like rotting in this bed, and that's not okay. And so I've always been like, I've always drawn since I was like 10. So I've always been like, I guess, artsy, you could call it. And I also, in between with my wife, we started doing crystal meth. So luckily now, I left her in 2010. We're in 21, so I'm 11 years sober. So for my 5-year sobriety, I bought myself a drafting table. So I was sitting in my bed watching YouTube videos, and I turned, looked at my drafting table, and I was like, I haven't done that in a while. That's not good. And so I started drawing a little bit again. And through watching YouTube videos, I found woodworking. Going through the YouTube hole of like finding one video to another. And I was like, this is cool. And then I'm like, whoa, it's just like 3D drawing. And once I get something stuck in my head, my parents are like, why? Right? They're like, well, she's doing something.
Yep.
And so I want to say I've been woodworking for about 3 years, I think. 4 years. And doing okay. I love carving. That's my bread and butter. Like that's my chip. I started chip carving first because that was like the easiest thing, right? I could start doing that in my drafting table, like in my bed. And then I was like, I kind of like this. And then I started with like a saw and a drill. And then my dad was like, I have the circular saw. You want to use this? So I was like, cool. And then I got a miter saw. And then I upgraded my miter saw. And then I got a sander. And then little by little, I got all kinds of machines now in this little backyard. Well, not little backyard, but little corner in my backyard.
Yeah.
And my dad is not the biggest fan of me bringing wood and like all kinds of stuff, because I'm the one that picks up pallets and like crappy wood off the road. And he's like, why? He's like, you need to start getting rid of some stuff before you keep bringing more stuff.
Yeah, he sounds a bit like my wife. My wife is like, no more wood until you get rid of the stuff that you already have.
Right?
I'm like, but I never know when I'm gonna need that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get it. Well, congrats on being 11 years sober. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about it. It's I think the day I left her, it was one of those moments where like clarity. And I was just kind of like coasting and doing it to kind of get through life. So it was very, and I didn't go to any like 12-step program. I did it by myself, which is, I don't recommend it. It was like horrible for the first week. Like, and like, you think you're about to die because of like, like the withdrawals and stuff like that. But it's a half a Tweety bird, but
yeah.
But yeah, the withdrawals were really bad. But I did it. I still have iffy days, when things get really tough. But I erased all the numbers on my phone, and I got everything. So I try to stay mindful of things. Look at my dog and I go, no, you're more important.
Yeah. It's not maybe as intense as that, but I stopped drinking like gosh, now it's been about 4 months ago. So, and
Yeah,
there's
it's the
definitely
first couple
times.
months,
Oof.
right?
Yeah.
You don't realize, especially for drinking and stuff, because I'm also like, I don't drink either.
Mhm.
And like I used to have like a beer or two here and there, but because of all of my medication, I can't do it.
Okay.
So even though I want to sometimes, like my brother and my dad will drink a beer and I'm like, just come, I just walk by and I just smell it.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that was good enough. You can keep this.
Yes.
I allow it. Just, yep, so still beer. Here, you can, yeah. You're safe. You're safe, yes.
Hey makers, today's episode is sponsored in part by toolmomstore.com. At toolmomstore.com, you can find any and all tool-based merchandise for all genders, all sizes. They've got mugs, they've got shirts, all kinds of cool stuff. I have one of the shirts myself that has the hashtag woodworker on it. And I also have a couple of the mugs that define what and who is a tool chick. So super excited with the merchandise that I have. I know that you will be satisfied as well. And also great discount for those of you who listen to the podcast. At checkout, if you enter the code MAKERMOM, you will get a 20% discount off any of the merchandise that you buy. So that's just toolmomstore.com. All right, let's head back into the action. Do you feel like finding that kind of going, or not finding, but going back to the drawing and then finding the YouTube hole of woodworking, do you feel like that's become like a good an outlet for you?
Yeah, it's like I think it's been my saving grace, honestly, because my fibromyalgia kind of evened out, because the doctors tell you to move and be active, but it hurts, right? It's like I have horrible days and I have, like I have to woodwork around my disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of like things that I do to kind of adjust, and I'm a lot slower, but it has helped me so much. Not only like my PTSD after everything, it's like off the roof. My anxiety, I have really bad anxiety. So like stuff like this helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it helped my fibromyalgia. And like, cause you get depressed. Like I was feeling really bad, and I was starting to get those like suicidal thoughts again. And I was like, that's when I was like, I need to start doing something, because I'm gonna like rot in this bed.
Yeah, I think at least for me, so I have like I have really bad anxiety, and I go through bouts of pretty bad depression too. I think what helps me with the making is like it like forces your brain to slow down, because you're like forced to focus on just this thing that you're doing. You're working with tools, and you're solely focused, and it's almost like it's almost
like you forget
Yeah.
about everything else. Yeah, it's like your own little world. In the moment, you don't even like, time doesn't matter. You're just like working on this one thing, even if it's like one little tooth you're like trying to like make sure it's sharp or whatever. Like any
Right.
like it has like, especially with the pandemic, it got really bad for me. Like, and then I lost my dog at the beginning of the pandemic, so then it got really bad. And like she was poisoned, I think, so she went down fast, like out of being like a healthy dachshund to like being like really bad. And then recently, in February, we got Gato, my husky. Yes, I named my dog Cat in Spanish, but I think it's hilarious. My parents refuse to call her that, so they call her Luna, but she answers to both. So that's what matters.
Yes.
And like, even honestly, like having her out here with me, it's like night and day. I realized how much of a difference it makes having a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I lost my dachshund and I was still woodworking, I realized that I need that like interaction, that like distraction too on top of. I was like, I'll be fine. I'm still have like I'm still being this. I'm still like doing stuff and like it helped. I'm like the woodworking has helped me. Yeah, I'm out carving, doing stuff. But I'm like, no, like I'd come home and like no one's here. I'm like, ooh, where's my dog?
Yeah, we got our cats a little over a year ago now. We got them as, kittens, brother and sister kittens, but we got them during the pandemic, and it was definitely, we got them for our kids. And it helped so much for their sake, their mental health sake. And I realized how much it helped like all of us. It gave us all something to like focus on and love and squish on and all of that fun like stuff.
Well, we're creatures that are supposed to like be in groups. So it's that interaction of like having someone other than your family member, even though they become your family too, but it's like interacting with someone different, like having that like, back and forth, even though they don't talk back, like it's still like that unconditional love,
I don't know, my cats are pretty lippy, so
oh, believe me, this girl, I'm telling you, she's getting a little too feisty. I mean, we got her at a year old, right? So she's literally her birthday was in February. That's what they're saying. The girl that I got her from found her on the street. So they're saying that she's a year old, and she's definitely a year old. But I gave her some leeway because she lost her sight, right? And so she got very depressed and stuff about that, which makes sense. But she's a year old. She's like a year old, going on too close, and she bounced back fast because she's young. And so now she's starting to get a little. She's pushing the boundaries. My mom's like, how is she getting out of the backyard if she's blind? I'm like, well, she's not dumb. That's right. Because she's still a little menace, aren't you? Yes.
Well, I'm impressed because I get to have the benefit of watching you throw a ball for her. And the fact that she can bring it back to you without seeing is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, I can tell that it's like all sound, right? Because when I was showing it to you, she was like doing one of these, like, wait a minute, I know I gave it to her. She usually throws it. I don't hear it.
Right.
She's like, Mom, what are you doing? What's going on? What's taking you so long?
That's right. I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the carving because, as you know, because we've chatted on Instagram, that's like my love for sure.
I know.
And I'm always impressed by those of you who do the chip carving and stuff, because I haven't figured out if it's like I'm giving myself the excuse that I don't have the patience, which I really don't have the patience, or if it's like partially there's a fear there of screwing it up, and so I let myself off the hook by saying I don't have the patience.
Well, there's always CA glue.
There you go.
When it comes to chip carving, thin CA glue is your best friend. Because like those little fine, and like with this carving I'm doing right now, like when I know it's a weak area, so it's like thin CA glue and Forza and like tweezers or whatever. It just makes sure the shop vac is not always on because you'll lose that piece. And I have gone through the shop vac bucket finding that piece, and I will admit that sometimes it wasn't the actual piece,
right,
but I did glue it on there and go, same wood.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess to that point, I don't have that benefit power carving. I mean,
yeah,
most of the time, I mean, I have a few tools that throw chips, that's how they carve, but most of them are basically speed sanding, they're
Yeah.
the carbide discs. So it's like, unless I really want to pack a bunch of sawdust in that spot, like I'm stuck with whatever I come away with.
Yeah. I think it's also like a speed thing too, right? Because it's like, I feel like it's not so much patience as it is like, if you go from like power carving to like chip or like chisel carving, it's like a big difference, because it's like, it's such a time consuming thing, because it takes a while. When you're power carving, you can like whip it out in a day or whatever, or like a couple days. Chip carving, I'm 2 weeks into this one and I'm like halfway through.
Though, yeah, chip carving, yeah, for sure, with the chisel. I just watched. I've been starting, my brain's been getting obsessed lately with the whole idea of like where certain techniques originated, or where certain design styles originated, and wanting to do my research as much as I can, as much as I can believe what I find on Google, but like,
right.
Because I feel I don't know, I don't want to any longer be a part of erasing the history of like where something truly came from. And so like carving originated in like Egypt, which is Africa, and really, diving down that hole. And so I found myself watching a pretty recent video of like these two men who carve basically with just like axes and knives still, and like that's their business. It's like a father and son business.
Oh, that's awesome.
In
I love
Africa.
watching those too.
Yeah.
Because it's, once you know how you appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And if someone asks you, you go, well, you know what, this is how they started making it.
Yeah.
And this is how things have progressed. The way we can look at technology and like pick up the first iPhone is the exact same thing, to be like, well, like, this is like someone's culture, someone's heritage, someone's like, tradition that they taught their kids. I love watching those too. Like, I've been watching a lot of where a lot of people in India have like, there's certain techniques that people don't do anymore because the pandemic has like cut back on a lot of like buying, a lot of tourists, so people don't go and they don't buy there. And a lot of them don't know how to use the internet because they've been, carving with bison bones still. And you're like, how in the world are they making this like awesome like bitchin' lamps that are like this big? And you're like, that from a bison bone?
Yeah.
And I was watching it and they glued the pieces together, and I got this idea. I'm like, well, that makes sense. If the bone is this big and they're making a plate that's this big, like, just, it's the same color.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. It like blew my mind, because I have carved with like with antler and stuff. And I'm like, that just like opened up so much to me, because I'm like, if I don't have a big enough antler piece, I'm like, I'm not using the whole piece.
Right.
Sweet baby Jesus. My brain I was like, just glue it. How did I not think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching it was an interview being done by, it looked like for this father-son carving, that it was like an interview being done for like an African news channel type thing. And so she was like, interviewing, and she asked like, well, did you did you like go to school or anything, and their school system? And they're like, well, no, why do I need to go to school? Like, this is what I learned as a child, and now I just do this, and I make money off of it.
School?
What school? And so each thing that she like picked up, she would ask like, how many days did it take you to carve this? And most of the stuff was like half a day at most, maybe a day. And they're doing this all by hand.
Because they're so proficient. Yeah. I know, I've seen it, and I'm like, or like the chainsaw people, I'm like, how in the they're like they start with like this huge chainsaw to a tiny chainsaw,
right?
And then like power carving, and then at the end they're using chisels. And I'm like, and then I'm watching the video, I'm like, the sun hasn't gone down,
right?
Like, They're still wearing the same clothes.
Right.
I don't see any jump cuts. There's no jump cuts.
Right.
Ah, shit, they're doing it in one day. Damn it.
I know. I know. I mean, I'm even thinking like I'll be going to Workbench Con in February, and I'll be doing, I think they just have me doing it on one day, a power carving demo, and they give me an hour and a half. And so I'm already thinking like, what can I take
What can you carve
that I can actually finish carving in an hour and a half? And it's probably going to be like a small platter or something like that, because that's really all I'm going to be able to manage to get done. But then
you're probably going to take it halfway made.
Exactly. I'm like, maybe I should take it like partially, like,
because half of it is explaining what you're doing.
Right.
So you really only have like
45
minutes. Yeah. Because the other, you're like explaining it too. So you're like, you don't want to give me a couple more, like maybe 2 hours,
right?
2.5, like add another hour to that. Like,
yeah. So I'm like already hardcore, like maybe I can get the inside like almost all the way carved. So I'm just taking like just doing some refining. Same with the outside, like, you know, I
everybody knows what a block of wood looks like.
Exactly.
And so, you know, a bowl is supposed to be round. So just like take, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of those and I'm like, how do you expect them to do so much in like 1 hour, bro? Like they're still talking.
I know.
And not lose a finger.
I mean, partially I might have set it up that way because I said I wanted to do something similar to like they had Ashley Harwood there a few years ago who did a turning demo. And I'm like, so I want to do something similar to that. But then I was thinking like, but turners can get something done in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's so fast.
Yeah.
Because the machine is spinning it for you.
Yes.
I mean, power carving is, but you're like, the machine is like, the force is in the machine. Because I also turned some and I'm like, yeah, that's makes sense. Because the machine is doing most of the work. You're just kind of making sure that you're, you know.
Well, I mean, so, okay, so you turn, do you some too? I don't have a lathe. I don't turn. I probably will someday. I have turned in the past. I will say when I did turning, I understood why some people fall in love with it so fast because it's instant gratification. You can have a finished product in a couple hours, like ready to go, sanded, finished.
Well, the average person can. Sometimes I don't know if it's my inexperience or if it's the fibromyalgia or if it's my perfectionism that I'm like, no, this is not round enough. No, this like, or the fact that I have a full-time job still and I just work in the afternoon. But I think it's the fact that it adds so much. Like I see it as an extension of like carving. So I can take that, make a bowl, make whatever, and then finish like carving in hand. Like the other day, like I've bought, like I have mallets and stuff that I use for wood carving. And I have like another one on my hip that I use. That's lignum vitae. And I'm like, cool, whatever. But then I was like, you know, I tried to make a mallet like a while back. Like when I first started working, and I'm like, it's splitting now. And so I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to make a mallet. I'm like, I'm letting this resin cure. I can't keep carving on this because the resin's on there. It's going to get all dusty on the resin. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to get that old piece of like, that old weird mallet I made. And I turned it and I made this. So it was like, because I went through a phase, like I love exotic woods. And I love doing even they're not like Purple Heart. It's like, how do you cut a tree and the inside is purple? Make it make sense.
Right.
Like it saw these things. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna work on that. And it made a mallet in like 2 days, which probably is a little too long for the average. I mean, someone else could have finished this in one day. Doesn't
Right.
make, I mean, I didn't even put a finish. I'm like, I'm gonna be smacking things with it. So I just did a CA glue finish.
Yep.
But it took me, sometimes I have to like stop and go, okay, it's not 2 days to me.
Right.
It's 4 hours.
Yeah.
Because I did 2 hours after I finished. I did the resin and all that stuff. And then I worked on it for like an hour or two. And then I came back the next day and finished it in another 2 hours. Like, so sometimes I have to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also hard to like, what's 2 hours to somebody else? Like, because obviously my machine, when I started turning like on a little one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got the Wen from like Amazon. Amazon is my best friend.
Uh-huh.
And my parents are not the happiest about it. They're like, you keep getting these boxes, and my excuse is always, well, I could be spending the money on something else.
Yes.
Okay. let's you know,
Mm-hmm.
could be worse. Still got all 10 fingers, so that's all that matters. And my favorite
without
joke,
a finger or two eventually. I mean,
that's my favorite joke. I'm like, you don't really need a pinky.
that's right.
Let's be honest. You could use it on your feet maybe for balance, but you
Right.
know, I use a cane every now and then for my fibromyalgia, so I really don't need that one either.
Right.
And she's like, let's just keep all your fingers and toes.
Uh-huh.
So no Crocs while I woodwork, but they're comfy. She's like, no.
I love it. Well, and two, to be fair, like I've found myself in that trap several times where it's like I watch somebody like complete a project on Instagram, you know, and it seems like, how would you do it that fast? Like it takes me
Yes.
forever. But then I also have to realize a few things. One, it might have taken them longer than the 2 days they posted pictures over. They just took pictures while they did it and then posted the pictures over the 2 days. Two is
how long have they been doing it, and how
Yeah.
long have we been doing
Yeah.
it?
And just the situational stuff too, right? Like, do they get to do this full time for their full-time job? Well, yeah. If I had 2 8-hour days, like just to be in the shop making, like I probably could crank that out too. So it's like you always have to take that step back and be like, Instagram is not real life. It's you know, it's the one
Or
window
YouTube.
that person is willing to show.
Or YouTube is not real life. Because I mean, it's like a 10-minute video.
Right.
How many more hours are in the day? Like, and you see the jump cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, they like
Yep.
put music and everything. That's not like how life works.
No. Yeah, you can count how many different outfits I wear in my YouTube videos for sure. Usually only if it's a project I'm being paid for am I like really pushing to get that done in one day.
Same here. And then I get very distracted. So I start something and I'm like, so first I have a moment of like, okay, I have time. Let's make something. What am I gonna make?
Right.
Well, I have that walnut thing. I could put in a resin. Do I want to do resin? I got that new glow powder. I should use that. And then I look and I'm like, oh, I have a bunch of pallets I haven't turned down. My dad doesn't. I should probably tear down those pallets. Oh, I should make something with this pallet wood.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then by the time I figure something out, I'm like, shit, I already spent 2 hours thinking about something.
I know. I definitely get that too.
Right? Or just like, well, I could have all the time. What do I do?
Right.
I turn, I'm like, oh, I should clean Becky. My bandsaw. I'm like, I should clean Becky. Yeah, it's too rust. Because rust is my arch nemesis out here. So I'm like, oh, I should take the rust off of that. Put some more. put some more wax on and make sure it's, yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask that question because I just started having this issue. So I had to move out of the shop space I was renting. Shop space is at home now. We did a bunch of renovation in the garage for it, but still, like where I have my bandsaw, point in case, is close to the garage door. So the garage door opens. If it's been raining, it's like dripping water onto the steel
Table, the bandsaw.
the bandsaw. And so I looked the other day, I was like, what the? Like, I've got rust there now. And so I was like, well, shit.
And it'll happen in like a day and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even kidding you. Especially if there's moisture.
Yeah. What kind of wax do you use for yours? Because I was like, I got to get some wax, but do you use just like the paraffin wax or?
I'll do the like stuff like this where it's like paste wax, natural stuff, because you also don't want it, you want it to not you want it to slide. So it does have some kind of coverage. I've also done where I do like the WD-40 makes some like rust stuff that I've put on there before. And that also helps, like a rust preventative or a rust. But the best thing, I've like a wire wheel and just paste wax.
Okay.
Because like a wire wheel to tear down all that, like, because I would Scotch Brite to take the rust off, and that would take forever. And then I just realized, just take a freaking wire wheel to it. So I just bought a little pack that had like different sizes, and I just use my drill because I just for Becky, I just put up the guard. I just put it up the guard all the way up, and I can get the drill around it. And so I'll clean her up that way, and I'll do and paste wax because it's the easiest to also take down, right? So I use paste wax, and sometimes I also have like, you can do a spray, like one of those it's like a clear coat you can also use for that. I forgot where I think I ran out of mine, but Jimmy DeResta put a video up, and it's like a Krylon that you can use on cast iron. And it's like a thin coat that'll protect it, that I've also used before.
Okay.
But for the most part, you're taking it down, and sometimes if there's dust around, it'll get like sticky. So what I've just a wire wheel and paste wax has been like the best one, to be honest. Because and there's the paste wax that's like a white jar. It has like a lion on it. That's the best one for it. Okay. But usually I'll do whatever I have on hand. Yeah. Because whatever's gonna keep it slick, and also kind of have some kind of thin layer. But for mine, I have like since I am under a tarp, but there's like a lip, as you can see by that sun that's coming through. There's like a lip from the tarp that's at a triangle point, and the carport that's flat. So rain doesn't come straight down, so it'll whiplash and it'll hit Becky. So I have like a mattress cover that I bought that like for it's like a twin size mattress cover for when you're moving or whatever, and it's like thick. And so I just put that on her. Okay. And I call her yes. Becky with the good blades. That's what I call her. So I don't know if you see the little bag, the bag that's right there, but that's where the cover is. So I just the weather app is my friend, so I check the weather app all the time, and I have a cover for Becky. I have a cover for my lathe stimulus, because I bought it with my stimulus check. And so it's like I'll get the thick ones for like your backyard stuff. You know, you can buy those that you can cover like the tables, or you can cover like the stacked chairs. So like I get those for like depending on what machines. Like for my jointer and my planer, I have them on a cart. So I bought the one for like stacked chairs, and I'm like, oh, that fits.
Nice.
So I just have everything. Yeah, and it works because it's waterproof. So it's like it's hardcore. Even though Gato got to the one for my lathe. Just deep breaths.
Yeah.
But it should still work. I'm
Yeah.
hoping. I haven't unfolded it, but I'm praying. I really am. This girl.
Uh-huh. Hey makers. So today's podcast episode is sponsored in part by Alicia Van Osdal, who is the owner of Basil Blue Design Company. Alicia is a maker of all things, really. Her focus is on beautiful craftsmanship through woodworking, repurposing, refinishing, art, and sculpture. Her background includes 30 years of graphic design, logos, and branding. If you have an idea or concept and need a creative solution or graphic design, you can email Alicia directly at Alicia, and that is ALICIA at basilblue.com. Or you can visit her website at www.basilblue.com. And fun fact, Alicia actually designed the logo for Crafting Revolution. So that is an example of the impeccable work you can expect if that is something you are in the market for. So be sure to look up Alicia again at her website, basilblue.com. All right, let's get back into the action. So you've been woodworking for 3 years. Have you been on Instagram the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I went on Instagram about a year later. I started Instagram, but the first year I was kind of like doing little things. I was kind of getting like doing small things. So I don't really count the first year because I really didn't do a whole lot. It was like, but about half a year in, I started my Instagram and I posted a bunch of pictures of whatever I had, and you can kind of see how it's like gotten better, I hope. But yeah, I have put up a couple YouTube videos on things, like when I made a boot, and I put, she grabbed the can. Just gonna ignore it. It's not worth it. It's gonna get recycled either way. You know, when I first got her, I mean, she's beautiful, adorable girl, you know, love of my life, you know, light of my days. She did, I want to say, about $100 to $150 worth of damage on electrical wires that she decided those look like something I want to chew. And so she chewed up Becky's cord. She chewed up the extension cord that I have 5 machines attached to, and then the cords to those 5 machines. Destroyed another extension cord. She, you know, she has attacked the Dremels cord 4 times. Yeah. I just remind myself how much I love her and how much joy she brings to my life.
That's right. So you have a couple YouTube videos too, one with the boot.
Yeah.
Super rad.
Yeah, I have 2 on the boot. I keep telling myself that I will put the end of it because it was a lot of work, so I broke it down into 3 videos. I keep telling myself I will post a 3rd one eventually. But it's just, I'm not an editor, right? And it's just so time consuming. And I just rather be woodworking instead of like sitting at a computer and just like slapping, you know, clips together. And then it's one of those points where what do I record and what I don't record. And so I recorded a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll have to go through that and like, eventually I'll finish that. Eventually.
Yeah.
One day.
That was one of the tips. I think it was Jimmy who said it on his podcast. I think the three of them were talking about video editing. And I think he said something about like, though he gets so much video with the GoPros and stuff. So maybe it wasn't him. It might've been Bob, but they were talking about it anyways. And I think they said, if you film short, then edit is short. And that like stuck with me because I was like, this is taking forever. I have like 10 hours of video that I have to go through for like 30 seconds.
And then like when I figured that not only does my phone, but the little video camera I'm using have a time lapse, I was like, I could have just cut this shit in half just for time.
Yep.
So like, baby, get off the table.
Yeah. So I'm with you on the editing. I don't, in fact, like, that's why honestly, like my channel has just turned to a lot of mainly just the podcast episodes, where I'll put occasional,
it's so time-consuming.
Yeah, I'll put occasional project ones up. But if I have the time, again, depending on if it was something paid for and I have time, then I outsource the editing. And if it's
I tried doing that, but it's like also so expensive to get someone to edit your video. And you're just like, sweet baby Jesus. Like, is it like really? And then also I'm like, okay, well, just sell like my main issue is pricing my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go by the hours we take making something, no one's ever gonna buy it.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right.
If we charge by the hour, we might as well just not work. So it's like, that's also my main issue. I've had so many problems where I'm like, how do I, and then is it worth like.
So I think honestly, like, yeah, that's definitely where it's like, I really don't sell a lot of my work. What I tend to sell more of is like brand deals. And so then I get to make something I want to make. And I am like, I got paid to make it, though I was going to make it regardless. And then I just get to keep whatever I make, for the most part.
Or gift it or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, I do still make some stuff and sell it. And, people will reach out on occasion for commission. But I've gotten to the point where it's like, I'm just real with the numbers and I do charge per hour. And I've figured out an hourly wage. Because I also know I'm going to end up charging them for half the hours it's actually going to take me, because I am horrible at estimating how many hours it's going to take me to actually make that.
Right? Because you get all these snags, right? So you think, I'm like, yeah, well, I could do that. And then halfway through, you're like, what was I thinking?
Yes.
How in the world am I going to finish this? Like, why would I?
Right.
Why?
And I never account for enough sanding time. Like, never. Like, and I don't know why, because I'm like, half the project is sanding.
I think it's because we try to like not think about sanding. So you're like, that doesn't count. We try to avoid thinking about sanding, and then we can like, how could I'm sanding this thing for days.
Right. Yeah. So,
oh man.
I mean, I have been able to sell a few projects, this year is probably the first time I've sold projects where I feel like I came close to like making a profit. Like, I came close to paying for my time. Still not all the way, but like,
Yeah. Same
more.
here.
Yeah, it was more fair, and it was like, okay. And it's because it was like people who understood just from following on social media, like, because I post so much process stuff, they get it. Like,
Yeah.
that, like, that sound that's like was on TikTok and it's now on Instagram. It's like, it costs
Yeah.
so much because it takes me fucking hours. Yes.
I know, I saved it. I'm waiting to use it on something because it's true.
Yep.
Because it realistically, you're buying it because you can't make it.
Right.
Let's be real. You can't make it. That's why you're buying it. And we can make it. So let's just pay us for making it.
That's right. It's like, I don't have like Walmart or Target tattooed to my ass. So I am not
seriously.
and I cannot mass produce this. Yeah.
And I'll work sometimes, like what I've been doing now, like I'll be like, okay, so I can work with, if you want, like pay me half now. So at least I can buy the wood or whatever I need. And it's going to take me a while to finish it. So in between that time, you can save up and whatever, and then pay me before I hand it to you. Or you can continuously give me payments until you finish paying it off. But like, like, but that's my biggest issue. Like the way I got a good revenue on something I made is, I don't know if you've seen the pictures or videos that I posted on making paddles. Because I'm also part of the leather community. Like the kink and leather community. So that was also, we have a event we do once. The community has an event that they do every month where they call it swap meet. Not as in like meeting people, meet as in like
MEAT instead of MEET. Yes.
Yeah, as you can imagine. And it's basically vendors or people in the community that do crafts or do whatever, and we set up a table and sell our stuff. And those paddles, because I was able to batch them out, I think that's where I did good on that profit, because they'll pay $60-$80 for that paddle, and even that I think was low. But since I batched them out of one big slab of wood that I got, like $20-$30 piece of wood, and I got like 6 paddles out of that piece of wood, it kind of made sense. But if you're not batching out, if you're doing the problem with carvings and stuff like that, it's like a one-off thing too. So it's like, and carvings take forever.
Yes.
As much as, and it just does. It just does.
Yep. Yeah. I
with
mean,
this one, the guy found me on Instagram and he's like, I trust you. He's like, for artistic liberties are on you. He said, this is our platoon logo, and just like do your thing. And I was very, very thankful for that. Even though I told him, I'm like, I'm posting stuff so you can see the process when there's something I'm changing or whatever. Like I will message him and stuff. We had a call the other day and he said he was loving the way it was working. And I told him, he's like, how long do you think you'll have it ready? And I was like, he's like, you said 2-3 months. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, maybe the end of December, maybe mid-December. I was like, but I'd rather give you a longer timeline and you have that in mind and me finish it earlier than that. I've gotten smarter, right? Because the one before this one, thankfully was like a secondhand family member, like my cousin's cousin. So they were more patient with me. With like, I might take another week. I might take. So, but I was like, yeah, I'd rather give you like a crazy timeline and finish earlier. And he had already paid for it full price. So I was like, okay, like, So he's like, no, I totally get it. Thank you. I was like, whew.
Yeah.
And he was very like, I get it. Yeah.
Get it? Yeah. I haven't learned that whole timeline thing. I'm still in I'm going to give you this timeline just know there's a 90% probability I'm going to reach out about 3 days before that's due and say, I need another whatever.
Well, it's the first one I've done it for. Let's just hope it sticks.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it at that. Let's just hope it sticks.
Yeah. I have learned, though, to not take any work if they need it in a quick timeline fashion, you know.
Unless it's something small.
Yeah.
That's how I've done it.
Yeah.
I very like, whenever they ask me, the first question is, how soon do you need it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so you need it. Okay. What's your budget?
Yep.
And then, okay. So it might take this long.
Right.
And it might be this much.
Right. Yeah, I always love when I get the response on the budget question. Well, I don't really have a budget for it. Okay. Well, just throwing this number out there, it's gonna be in this ballpark. And then they're like, oh, I guess I was thinking like 200. I'm like, you should have said that when I asked you the budget.
You know, when I said a budget,
yeah.
Like, how much do you want to spend on this? And that's gonna dictate whether you get a pony or you get a horse.
Right. Exactly. Or if I just say, yeah, I can't even do it for that. Like I have appreciated, so like I have a pretty good stockpile of wood, right? So right now I can make almost anything off of what I have. But I'm not gonna lie, I have used the price of lumber right now to be an example of saying no when they're trying to undervalue me, to be like, well, with the cost of lumber right now, I can't even do that. Like I can't even buy the wood for that project at that price.
Yeah. And also because you never know when you're going to need to just buy the wood, right?
Right.
Also, like, yeah, I have like crazy stockpiles of wood and I still buy wood.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. Right. I need a thicker slab.
Right.
Okay. I've started putting wood in the dining room. I don't know how long that's gonna last.
That's probably not gonna last very long.
I mean, it's in the corner where I keep. So like once you're going through the French doors on the left, that's where I have like my vest. So I put it behind that little chair. So I have a chair, like an old IKEA chair, where I put my vest and my sweater and my hat. So I put it behind there. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. It's a 6-foot piece of wood. It's pretty obvious,
right,
that it's longer than that chair.
Right.
But I haven't said anything. So they haven't said anything. They might say something after watching this video. Right. But we're just gonna pretend like I don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Well, Tania, we're actually at the end of our time together. So
fun.
I want to give you a chance though to let people know where they can find you and follow along with you.
Well, my Instagram is at Tania Made. Tania, my name. Oh, there. There you go. That makes it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that my logo, because I'm Tania and I'm making stuff. I figured it didn't put me in a box of woodworking.
Right. Since
I do a lot of, sometimes I hope to one day expand to metal, even though everybody tells me I'm a little too clumsy for that. They're like, let's just not work with fire.
Right.
And I'm like, well, but we could forge things.
Right.
But let's not work with fire. Well, it'll be fun.
That's right.
Right. But yeah, so just Instagram is my main one. If I were to put a YouTube video someday, it'll be on there. It'll show up on there. Okay. And I have the links to all my stuff to my link tree on my Instagram. So if you want to find me anywhere else through all my other I guess YouTube, Facebook, all the links to that are on my Instagram. So I think Instagram has been my main thing. If you're in the National City area, let me know before you show up at my house, probably.
That's a fair request.
Other than that, Instagram. If you show up at my house, you might as well bring treats for me and my dog.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Okay, so again, that was Tania of Tania Made on Instagram. I will include the links on how you can follow along with her in the show notes for today's episode. Where you can find those is first check the description on your podcast app. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, you can find it in the description down below. And then you can head on over to freemanfurnishings.com/podcast and find the show notes for today's episode as well as all the past episodes. Be sure to follow along with the podcast over on Instagram at Crafting a Revolution. And when I am not interviewing fantastic people and making podcast episodes, you can find me designing and making furniture and other home decor over at freemanfurnishings.com and at Freeman Furnishings across all the social media platforms, active most frequently and often on Instagram and TikTok. So come on over at Freeman Furnishings and say hi. All right. We are headed towards the end of another week, so I just got one thing to say. As always, let's go craft a revolution.
She, her, them, they got something they want to say. Solution for the toxic masculinity.